I'm going to talk a little bit about the regulation of the pharmaceutical market. Now, the two aims we have in the pharmaceutical market, and the two aims we have, they're conflicting, and that creates a problem. The first aim we have is to stimulate research and development. We want there to be as many drugs as possible for a lot of different diseases. Stimulate research and development. But we also want, and that's the second aim, low prices, cost control. And low prices. Now these are in conflict with each other, of course, because in order to stimulate drugs, research and development, the companies, they would need money and high prices for the drugs. But then, in order to have low costs, we would like to decrease the price. So we have to find a system that kind of balances these two aims. Now, the pharmaceutical market, in the free market itself here, would have a lot of problems. So I'm going to discuss some of these problems. Let's call them market failures or problems in the pharmaceutical market's special issues. Now, the first thing is, you know that a perfect market, we would have price equal to marginal cost. Let's say that's the aim. The problem with that in the pharmaceutical market is that the marginal cost of producing something is usually very low. So marginal cost is very low. The marginal cost of producing a pill, for example, is very low, but the research and development costs are very high. So you have high R&D costs. Now, people discuss these numbers that it's a very controversial field, but some people say it costs as much as $1 billion to invent a new chemical entity, because they have to try out different entities and they go through different trials and things like that. So you have a high R&D cost, but you have low marginal cost. There's another problem is that once you invented something, it's easy to copy the drug. So information is public good, basically. So it's easy to copy. So why should you invest in something and then someone else will just copy the drug and avoid the research and development cost? So you have to create a system for that not to happen. And also you have some information problems here. We're talking about health, and it's difficult for people to know whether a drug is safe and how it works and things like that. They have to rely on the pharmaceutical companies and the doctors. So it's not like the market for Coca-Cola, although that used to be a pharmaceutical, but it has some special properties. So how do we regulate these markets? Well, essentially there are two kinds of regulation here. First, we regulate access to the market. The regulation we have. First, we regulate access. So you can't just produce something and sell it. You have to get approval in order to get to the market. That's the first kind. The second kind of regulation we have here in this market is the price regulation. It doesn't have to be price, it could be profit as well, but it's just the regulation. You can sell something, but you're not free to determine exactly how much you're going to charge for it. So these are the two kinds of regulation that I'm going to discuss. Now, access. The basic background is just that in order to get access to the market, the pharmaceutical company, they will have to go through a process of trials. And then these trials have four phases. Phase 0, no, sorry, well, 0. I'm not going to discuss 0 here. Let's just say phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. Phase 1 is when you experiment on healthy individuals just to see what the drug, how it works, if it's safe. Phase 2, you're trying to determine, it's basically a pilot in order to determine the dosage and whether it's safe again. But now you're experimenting on sick people who actually have the disease. Now, phase 3 is the most important phase. That's where we actually try to establish whether the drug works or not. It's still on sick people, but now it's a large trial with specified doses to see does this drug work or not, and of course also the side effects. After phase 3, the drug company can seek approval, and if they get this approval, they can market the drug and sell it. But sometimes they will be required to conduct phase 4 trials, which is after the drug has come to the market. For example, to look at side effects more closely. So these are the 4 phases. But after phase 3, the drug company will seek approval, for example, from FDA to sell the drug. Now, this takes maybe 10-15 years. And we also have patent laws, which is another form of regulation. And a patent is usually for 20 years. So you can see in this process, they have to hurry. And that's one of the problems, that you have, time is running out. You have to hurry up. Also, when they get access, they only get access to the people or for the disease they actually tried it out on. So sometimes a drug turns out to, it works on something else. Well, that's kind of that's what we call off-label use, and that's not officially allowed to promote a drug for off-label use. So you have these phases, and you have some problems here, of course. First of all, the short time lag means that you may not discover all the side effects. And also, it is possible, I wouldn't say cheat, but to hunt for, well, it is possible to cheat, of course, as well, but it's also possible to hunt for significant effects that may not exist. So this process is not perfect, but that's how they do it here now. The second thing I want to talk about then is price regulation. And essentially, in some countries there's no regulation, or no official regulation. That's one way of saying it. Nothing. So in the US, for example, they do have some, of course, you can't charge whatever you want, but there's no official price regulation in the sense they have in Europe. So another way of doing this would be, when you introduce a drug in this country, we will pay you compared to, and in order to determine how much we will pay you, we'll look at the prices in other countries and select, for example, the average of the 3 lowest prices in the other countries. So this is called a reference pricing system. So when you introduce a new drug, another system, this is used, and that's usually used for new drugs. Another system which could be used is value-based pricing. We look at the value that this drug is actually going to produce for us. So value-based pricing. Some countries, they use some kind of system where they regulate not the price itself, but profit. So you're allowed to go for a certain price, but this price has to be within a limit, so you will produce a certain amount of profit, and not more. Another country, some other countries, also regulate them based on a step system. This is often used for generics. Generics are drugs that compete with a drug when the patent runs out. So it's a copy drug, basically. And then you can regulate the price of the drug itself and the other drugs by saying, okay, take the price you have and go down, for example, by 20% every 3rd year or something after the patent goes out. So it's a step price system. So lots of different ways of intervening in these markets. And I just wanted to list some of them. Thanks.